Tim tossed a 100-ruble bill into a teacup, waiting until the banknote was thoroughly soaked before fishing it out with a sense of satisfaction. In an instant, the crisp new bill had been transformed into an aged one. The brothers then proceeded to throw more bills into a basin of water, retrieving them and hanging them on a line to dry. Their reason for doing this was simple. These banknotes were all freshly made counterfeits, and worn bills were less likely to be detected than new ones. Once the entire process was complete, the duo eagerly hit the streets to put their handiwork to the test. Will handed a 100-ruble note to a shopkeeper, but as soon as the man took the money, he sensed something was amiss and turned to look directly at Will. Realizing the jig was up, Will prepared to flee, but the shopkeeper grabbed his wrist. Tim, who was nearby, rushed over to help, desperately pulling Will out of the crowd. However, the shopkeeper was not about to let them off easily, and a group of people gave chase until the pair finally found refuge in a secluded alley, successfully escaping. It was hard to believe that the counterfeit money they had painstakingly crafted had been so easily identified. As Tim examined the fake bills in his hand, he began to realize that they had been wrong from the start. Indian banknotes are printed on a special cotton-based paper that feels distinctly different from ordinary wood pulp paper and has a unique, crisp sound. Additionally, the color-shifting ink on the notes changes hue when viewed from different angles, and there are embedded security threads. To produce higher-quality counterfeits, these issues needed to be addressed. Moreover, the artwork on the banknotes had to be entirely hand-drawn. Even the most sophisticated scanning equipment in the world could not perfectly replicate the microprinting on genuine currency. The initial draft of the banknote design had to be hand-drawn, then scaled down and engraved. After polishing and chemical treatment, a printing plate for the counterfeit money would be ready. However, the cotton-based paper was strictly controlled by the Indian government, making it nearly impossible to obtain. They had no choice but to find alternative materials. After days of searching, Tim finally found hope in a magazine. The paper used in this publication had a very similar feel to real banknotes, and when two sheets were combined, the thickness was just right. With the paper issue resolved, the next challenge was the color-shifting ink on the currency. Will came up with a solution. By mixing store-bought metallic paints and inks, he achieved a color-changing effect that was convincingly authentic. A coat of clear varnish was then applied to the bills to give them a crisp feel. Finally, the banknotes were soaked in tea, hung on a line to dry, and the perfect counterfeit money was complete. To test their newly minted fakes, they returned to the same store. This time, they held hands to facilitate a quicker getaway if necessary. As the shopkeeper took the money, Tim's heart raced, fearing another failure. But to their surprise, they were handed a bottle of soda and some change. Staring at the drink and money in their hands, the two were overwhelmed with emotion. They had actually succeeded. The name of this movie is Farzi.